Um, Good evening, everybody. How you guys doing? My name is Hamilton Gabriel, and I want to begin by apologizing that we're supposed to have this session last week, but we couldn't have it because of technical issues. But I'm excited that we have another opportunity to have this session today. And for the past couple of weeks, we've been looking at several skills, several soft skills that are critically important in our career journey as we move from one point to another point. These skills are very critical, all right? And today we're going to be looking at one of the most important skills I believe that every young person should get. And we're going to be looking at problem solving skills, right? Last week, when we started, I talked about the fact that organizations are looking for problem solvers. What differentiates a particular candidate from another candidate is the problem he or she has the capabilities to solve, right? So, what companies are looking for is who is going to solve the problem that we have. For example, if they have sales and marketing problem, they're looking for talents, individuals that can solve that problem. If they have IT problem, they are looking for someone they can employ that is going to solve that problem. They are not just looking for people that will come and earn salary. A lot of times young people just want to earn salary. Yeah, it's important. However, what organizations are looking for is for individuals that will solve the problem. If they have, let's say, financial issues, they're looking for accountants, auditors that will solve that problem. So, what sets you apart amongst other employees is the fact that you have the ability to solve a problem. All right. Um, Emeka and Isaac can both be accountants. All right. They both graduated, they studied accounting. But what differentiates Isaac from Emeka is the fact that he has the capacity, he has the competence to solve problem. Okay, so today is very important that we look at the topic problem solving skills for career growth. How do we unpack the critical points that are important in terms of solving problem? Whether you are an entry level staff or whether you are a mid-level staff, these skills are very, very important, right? All right, so I want to begin by defining what is a problem. What is a problem? Every day we face one challenge or the other. Okay, you want to move from your house to work. Now, the first problem you're going to encounter is the transportation, all right? Getting the right vehicle that will take you from where you are to your place of work. All right, so that's the first problem. You have the problem of, okay, what are we going to eat? How, which clothes am I going to wear? So every day we are faced with one problem or the other. So it's not a totally new concept, right? It's not totally new. Rather, one or two things we're going to be saying in terms of how do you identify a problem and differentiate the root cause of a problem from the symptoms, and what would be the corresponding action in addressing these problems. All right. But for the purpose of this webinar, we're going to be looking at a specific definition of what problem is. So, what is a problem? All right. A problem is a gap or discrepancy between two things. A problem is a gap between two things. All right. The first thing is what should be the desired outcome? What should be the expected outcome of a thing? And then what is the present state of that thing? So let's take a typical example. All right. Um, I want to earn 20, let's say 1 million every month. That is your expected desired outcome. Now, the next question is, what are you earning now? Let's say you are earning 100,000. So in between your desired outcome and your present state, we have a gap. So the problem is the discrepancy, the gap between expected outcome and then the present state of things. So how do we make sure in our career journey we are able to meet our desired outcome? So, for example, somebody is looking for a job. All right, you're looking for a job. You haven't gotten the job. So you are unemployed. So your desired outcome in the next 2 months or 3 months is that I want to get a job. But at the moment, I am unemployed. So that is a problem. All right, and we have identified the gap. Okay, so that is the definition of a problem in light of today's, excuse me. That is the definition of a problem in light of today's discussion, all right? So there are different examples. I'm going to take one particular example in terms of defining what a problem is. So if you look at the screen, you're going to see that the current state of, let's say, a particular company is that sales are declining. Sales are declining. Then the desired outcome is that sales should be increasing. So the problem is that there's decline in sales. So when organization employs a business development manager, is the fact that they have identified this friction. All right, they have identified this roadblock and they want to see how can we remove the roadblock. So they comes and run series of interviews looking for the right fit to make sure that he or she has the capacity, the capabilities to remove the roadblock of decline in sales. So it's very important that when you are hired in an organization, what should be your primary focus is not just to earn salary, is how do I solve problems within the organization? What are my key performance indicators? What are my KPIs that I'm expected to deliver on every month, every quarter, or every week? What am I supposed to do to make sure that I meet my expected KPIs? So that is what differentiates you from every other staff. So that at the end of the day, if the company decides to lay off people, all right, you are not going to be among those that will be laid off. Today, we have a lot of cybersecurity experts. We have a lot of software engineers. What separates a maker from Joseph is the ability of a maker to solve critical problems, all right? So the example we're saying is a decline in sales, all right, is a major problem and the company would like to address it. The second example is that students are struggling with a particular concept as a teacher or as a school owner. The students are struggling, all right? And then the desired outcome is that students should understand the concept. So the gap is student comprehension. That's a problem, all right? So as we progress in this discussion, in this conversation, I'm going to be giving us step-by-steps on how to identify a problem and what should be the corresponding actions in addressing the problems we have identified. Number two, how to differentiate the root cause of a problem from the symptoms, because oftentimes we are focused on addressing the symptoms and not addressing the root cause. So we're going to run a root cause analysis to know what is the problem, all right, the core of the issue that we want to address. All right, the importance of problem solving in everyday life. Like I said in my opening discussion, is the fact that every day we are faced with problem navigating everyday life. Okay, what should I wear today given that the rain is falling? What should I wear? I know sometimes my wife looks at the wardrobe. I say, okay, what am I going to put on? And she has a lot of clothes in front of her and she's asking, what am I going to wear? That's a problem. And I remember a particular man of God decides to be wearing white so that he doesn't have that confusion of what to wear. So once he just opens his wardrobe, he sees a white dress, he puts it on. It solves the problem of, okay, I'm going to wear this, I'm going to wear that. It solves that problem. All right. How can I get to work on time despite the traffic? So if you live in Lagos, traffic is a major problem. Okay. And then you have to wake up early to make sure that you're able to beat the traffic. So when we look at the concept of problem solving, it's not an entirely new concept. It has been there. Okay. It has been there. But how do we respond? How do we first of all identify these problems and how do we respond to them? All right, as we grow in our career, how do we deploy what we are going to learn in today's webinar in our career journey? All right, professional success and employability. Problem solving is consistently ranked as one of the most sought after skills by employers across different industries, regardless of the industry, whether you are in the finance, whether you are in the tech, whether you are in the whatever sector you are in, problem solving is the most sought after skills that employers are looking for. Now, between my wife and I, my wife she's good at problem solving compared to in comparison to me, all right, in terms of the home front. Okay, she knows how to solve some critical problems within the home front. All right, so what differentiates you from the other person is a problem you're able to solve. All right, address workplace challenges. Every job from entry level to the executive involves problems. All right, employees who can identify issues, analyze the root cause, propose effective solutions are invaluable assets to organization. Please take note of that. Individuals who can identify issues, not just to identify them, analyze the root cause of the problem. Like I said, it's important to differentiate between the root cause of the problem and then the symptoms. So it's not just to focus on the symptom, but to do a root cause analysis to know, okay, what is the actual cause of this problem? All right? And the next step is to propose an effective solution in addressing this problem. So individuals, employees that can do this are indispensable assets to organizations. Drives innovation and efficiency. Problem solvers can identify inefficiencies within a process, anticipate potential risk, and develop new strategies that save time, saves money, and save resources. All right? So if you look at the whole entire value chain of problem solving, it's important that you realize that organizations are looking for individuals that can solve problems regardless of the industry that you are in. All right? Enhance collaboration and communication. Often, problems requires teamwork. Strong problem solvers can articulate issues clearly, listen to diverse perspectives, facilitate discussion, and build consensus, leading to stronger team dynamics. Okay? So sometimes you want to solve a problem. It goes beyond just your department. You have to collaborate with other team members. All right? It requires teamwork. It's not just, I remember when I was working in my previous organization, it was within the finance sector where we pay interest of customers at a particular time. And then there's this particular period where we had network issues, okay? At that point, when your customer is asking, "Oh, Hamilton, I haven't received my interest for the month. What is the problem?" Now you are telling them, "Oh, okay, you have to collaborate with the IT department to rectify the whole network issue." So, problem solving also involves our ability to collaborate with other team members, either within our department or even outside our department. And then number 5, career advancement. Individuals who consistently demonstrate strong problem solving abilities, right, are easily to be promoted to take on greater responsibilities and advance in their career. I take this again. Individuals who consistently demonstrate strong problem solving abilities are usually the first persons to be promoted if you are within an organization that respects that has a plain level field and politics is not involved. Okay, they are promoted so that they can take on greater responsibilities in making sure that the organization meets their expected outcome. I'll give you a typical example. At the end of every year, there is a budget. So within my department, there's a budget. So the company says that, okay, we want to make, let's say, 100 billion in 2025. 100 billion. Now, what they would do is they will now divide 100 billion across the different branches in Nigeria. And then they come down to Abuja, they divide it as well across the different branches within Abuja. And when they come to my branch, they're now divided across different, individuals. And so, okay, Hamilton, your target is a billion naira. Okay, so they look at your capabilities and then they give you a target to meet. Now, when they consistently notice that you have met your target, you are up for promotion, either to be a branch manager or to be a regional manager. Okay, so organizations are looking for problem solvers. So we must position ourselves not just to become salary earners, but we have the ability to solve problems. Okay, so it is important that as we desire career progression, it's important that we become problem solvers. I used to tell my friends that promotion, money moves in the direction of the problem that we are solving. The more problem you solve, the more money you make, the more promotion you have. All right. All right. General problem solving process. I'm going to be talking about what is the general framework in terms of identifying a problem, analyzing the problem, and then recommendations in addressing the problem. So, number 1 is define the problem. What is the actual root cause of the problem? Define the problem. Number 2, analyze the problem. Why is it happening? Number 3, generate solution. What can I do about it? And number 4, evaluate and select the best solution in addressing the problem. And number 5, implement the solution. And then number 6, monitor and evaluate. So these are the 6 steps, that at this level that we can deploy in solving problem, regardless of whether it is a financial problem, it's whatever problem you are faced with. All right. If we deploy these 6 steps, we are going to solve the problem. So I'm going to come back to it again. I'm going to take a typical example. I'm looking for a job. I am unemployed. My expected outcome is that by August, I should have a job. Currently, I do not have a job. How do I solve this problem? So now, define the problem. That is the first step. The first step is that I do not have a job. That is the reality. I'm not denying the fact. I do not have a job. Or I have a job. The salary is small. I'm earning 100,000. I want to earn 500,000. You have defined the problem. The next step is analyze the problem. Why is it happening? Why am I earning 100,000 instead of earning 500,000? That's the second step. So what could be the problem? For example, it may be that I need to upscale my skills. I need to skill up. I need to, pick up one or two skills that will give me advantage in terms of getting a more desired job role. So number one is to define the problem. Number two is where we are analyzing the problem. I earn 100,000. I want to earn 500,000. What is the gap? Okay. It's because I don't have the skills. I want to get the skills. So you are analyzing the entire problem. And number three, generate a solution. What is a solution? Let me take a course, a certification course on project management, cybersecurity, data analytics, whatever. All right. So generate a solution. Let me take this course. So if I want a promotion I want to get a job that will pay me 500,000, let's say in December, and now I am in June. What course can I take between now and let's say in October, so that I can use it to begin to apply for a bigger role in November and December? Generate a solution. And number four, evaluate and select the best solution. And then number five, implement it. So now implementing it means that you have to now register for a course, all right? And make sure that you come out in flying colors. And then by October, you are done with the course and with the certifications, you can now begin to apply for a bigger role. And then finally, you monitor and evaluate. Did it work? This solution I have deployed, did it work? If it works, good. If it didn't work, what can I do? All right. So it's important that we follow these 6 steps in terms of solving problems. Now, I think I've talked about this. Define the problem. This is arguably the most crucial step. A poorly defined problem often leads to ineffective solution. This is true. A poorly defined problem often leads to inefficient solution. If you don't define the problem properly, I think, what did they say in the hospital? If you get the diagnosis right, what will happen? What will happen? So if a doctor gets the diagnosis, if he didn't get the diagnosis right, what will happen? He can't treat properly. So first of all, when you go to the hospital, they'll do a diagnosis to know what is the root cause before they begin to prescribe medication. So it's important to get the diagnosis right, identify the gap, clearly articulate the difference between the current state and the desired state. Clearly articulate the current state that you are in. I'm earning 100,000. I want to earn 500,000. Clearly define this. And number 2, avoid using vague statements. Sales are down, for example, is less useful than saying that sales product in Lagos decreases by 15%. Okay, I think I've talked about all of this, and so I don't need to go back to them again. All right, analyze the problem. I've talked about all of these things. Okay, I've talked about all of these. Define the problem, analyze the problem. I've talked about it. Generate the solution. Yeah, generate the solution. So how do you generate solution? Brainstorming, thinking broadly, leverage creative tool, and also do a survey. I've talked about all of these. Evaluate and select the best solution in which the solution is the best. Okay, I've talked about all of these. implement the solution. Yeah, I've talked about all of this. Okay, yeah. Now, this is very important. How do we distinguish between the symptoms and the root causes? We must differentiate between the root cause of the problem and the symptoms. Understanding the difference between the symptoms and the root causes is fundamental to effective problem solving. If you only address the symptoms, the problem will likely reoccur, often with greater severity. It is like taking a painkillers for a broken leg instead of setting the bones. That is true, right? The pain might, subside a little bit, but the underlying issues remains and could worsen. So we come back to our example again. Why am I earning 100,000 when I desire to earn 500,000? So what is the root cause? The root cause is that the root cause is that I lack certain skill set to be able to get a job that can give me 500,000. So it's important to get to the root cause of the problem and not just look at the symptoms. All right. So we are going to be looking at some of the examples between the root cause of a problem and then the symptoms. And I'm going to use this particular example that is on the screen, all right? So your personal health, you have a persistent cough, that's a symptom, all right? You have a persistent cough, that is a symptom. Addressing the symptom, taking cough syrup, all right? You take cough syrup and all of that. But what is the root cause analysis? Why are you coughing? Okay, why do you have sore throat? Why do you have cold? All right, and the root cause may be chronic lack of sleep. Okay, so the coughing is the symptom you are treating, but the root cause may be that the doctor will say that you are not having enough sleep. So it's important to know that for every problem, there is a root cause and there is the symptoms. I am broke. Being broke is a symptom. Why am I broke? I don't have a job. That's a root cause. For example, in Nigeria, we have terrorism and all of those social vices. Those are the symptoms. What is the root cause of the problem? So it's important that we shift our minds from the symptoms and focus on the root cause. The second example I would like us to look at is with regards to business. So you run a business and then sales are declining. So addressing the symptoms, offers discount, aggressive short-term promotion on social media, and all of those, promotions and advert that companies run. So those are, using those approaches, you are just addressing the symptoms. What is the root cause? The root cause analysis is simple. Why are sales declining? Why are customers acquisition very low? Why are our marketing campaigns ineffective? Why don't we understand the need of the customers? Okay, so what is the root cause? Insufficient investment in current market research and over-reliance on outdated techniques. So most times we focus on the symptoms and not to take our time to do a deep dive to look at the root cause of the problem. Okay, so it's important that as we progress in our career journey, let's differentiate between the root cause from the symptoms. All right, thank you so much. I will now ask the moderator if there are any questions. I would like to take questions and then I will hand over the microphone to the moderator. Thank you. All right. I've just been notified that the moderator is having network issues, and at the moment we don't have any question. Okay, so thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I believe that you have learned one or two things that you are going to deploy in your career journey, and I look forward to seeing every one of us make significant progress in our career. Thank you and have a lovely weekend. No? Okay. All right, we have a question here from Gabriel. Finding the root cause of a problem will definitely fix the problem permanently. Solving only the symptoms won't solve the issues. Okay, so that is what you learned. Oh, thank you so much, Gabriel. It's important that we find the root cause of the problem and not just focus on the symptoms. Thank you, Gabriel. All right, any other? All right, happiness. Okay, happiness says the happiness says, sorry, I'm trying to. Okay, happiness says that the more problem you solve, the more promotion you, and that is true. All right, the more problem you solve, the more promotion you have. Like I said, organizations are looking for problem solvers, not just people that will earn salary. All right, James, thank you. Good evening. We are still meeting. Are we still meeting tomorrow? Yeah. Tomorrow we have someone from Wema Bank that will be taking us through another critical skills. And I think it's something that every one of us should participate in the training because it's going to be talking about a very important skill set that you need, all right, as you progress in your career journey. Yeah, so James, we're still meeting tomorrow. The details will be shared with every one of us. Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody. Let's have a lovely weekend and see you tomorrow.